Welcome, everybody, to Amateur Hour Sports for today's off-season stream. Really starting to get into the swing of things and in the thick of things for the off-season. And we have some actual Raptors rumors that have come out in the last week since I've seen you guys. We're going to be covering those today in the Bruce Brown universe, but also conference finals begin today. Not going to be live streaming for the Pacers and Celtics game, unfortunately, but ready to preview that series alongside the Timberwolves and Mavericks series. Then we're talking a little bit about the draft, a little bit about Bronny James, but not too much about Bronny James. Trust me. And also, we're going to be doing a little bit of a preview for what we expect the Raptors to be like for the 24-25 season. Try to do a little bit of predictions on the way for that one, just to kind of gauge where the Raptors fan base is as far as expectations for next season. And along the way, over the course of the next hour, I'll be answering your questions as well. Any questions, any comments, any discussion pieces, please lay them down in the chat, and I got you. We'll discuss pretty much all of it. If you get a comment in, I'll pretty much always answer it. Apologies for no video yesterday. If you don't know, if you're not in Canada, in Canada it was a holiday yesterday. I'm sure many of you are Canadians and did know that. I was actually working yesterday, but I decided I was away in Montreal all weekend. I was really tired yesterday. I didn't want to load up my schedule too much yesterday, so decided to take the holiday away from YouTube, and I'd say that was a wise decision. It was a nice, refreshing day, not getting too burnt out, but getting back into the thick of things with the stream today, of course, and videos back to the normal, what has become the norm at least. Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos on the main channel, and Tuesday, Thursday videos, on the second channel, and various, streams Tuesday and Thursday on this. Streams at least Tuesday, sometimes Thursday as well on this channel, and then clipping stuff from the streams and putting them on the Clips channel. I mean, we were just absolutely loaded up with content right now, doing shorts once a week with Bet99 as well, part of our collab, another one coming this week. It's been good. It's been good. And on top of that, in the month of June, pleased to say that I will be back on the Bleacher Report app for 3 more pieces of content that you guys can look forward to. So keeping myself busy, and hopefully along the way, like I said, keeping you guys entertained. I hope you are enjoying the stuff that I am putting out. And if you do enjoy what you see from this one, make sure you do hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well, especially if you are new. All right, guys, let's get into things here. What's going on to the people in the chat? Gregory, one of my members, is here, as is Sumaya, another one of the members. Thank you for your support once again, Sumaya. We also have Winner One joining, and Azan Pradin saying, what's good, everybody? I hope you're doing well as well, and I hope I pronounced that name correctly. Yeah, so one of the bigger things we're going to be talking about a little bit later on is Bruce Brown. The sentiment around Bruce Brown, it's changed since the way I covered him most recently. I said that it'd be tough for the Raptors to trade him. I can see them hanging on to him. But apparently a deal may be more imminent than we expected, especially more imminent than I expected. We'll get there. But I think that the best way to lead off today is discussing the conference finals. We're going to be having the Pacers against the Boston Celtics to open things up for the conference finals. The Indiana Pacers, the surprise package in a way here. Honestly, it hasn't been the most formidable Eastern Conference that we've ever seen. I'm not trying to diminish a team making the conference finals, so I don't want it to seem that way. But the East hasn't been fantastic this season. The Boston Celtics has been overwhelmingly the best. The second 2 other good teams, the Bucks, suffered from injuries and hiring a bad head coach. That's their fault. And the Sixers suffered from Joel Embiid's injury. So the East was open here. The Pacers took advantage, beating the Bucks as they were the 6th seed. And the Pacers did themselves a great service by avoiding the play-in tournament. And then in the second round against a tough New York Knicks team, New York were a little bit burnt out, suffering from injuries, and the Pacers once again took advantage. It was an all-time Game 7 performance here, but this is a different beast against the Boston Celtics. Spread for this game in Game 1 is 10. Boston are the overwhelming favorite to win this series as well. Just the overwhelming favorite to win this series. Tough to see how you can disagree with that. I'm trying to find what is likely the percentage of on this series. The percentage chance Boston win this series. At least going to do my best to find it. Oh my God, what is this? It's close to a 90% chance the Celtics are going to win this series. I wouldn't go that far. 90%, or it's about 85 to 90%. That's a little bit too far in my estimation. I think that where the Pacers can give some problems to the Celtics is playing with pace, playing in transition, and just a three-point variance. I mean, shoot the hell out of the three. And if you make a decent clip, like you might win the math game against the Boston Celtics. That's what the Pacers have to hope for. Get out quickly, get them tired. The Celtics aren't too deep of a team, especially in the center department. Like even their starting center, Al Horford. Get Al Horford moving in transition. And hey, if you're getting Al Horford off the court, it's Luke Cornett coming on. I think that there's a real possibility for the Pacers to thrive with their spacing and with their pace of play. Now, that being said, I think the Celtics win in 5 or 6, but I can see a way in which Indiana can give the Boston Celtics some problems. And, the Pacers probably won't be very fresh for this game. We're 2 days off of them winning a Game 7, but, they'll be relishing the chance they're in a conference finals. Siakam back in his second conference finals here, obviously a previous NBA champion. And I think the Pacers in Game 7 against the Knicks started to go to the Siakam post-up a whole lot more, and very successfully. I mean, how many times have you guys heard me talk about the lack of Siakam post-ups that the Raptors gave him this season? Well, the Pacers are starting to actually give it to him, and what do you know? It's a very efficient way to run your offense because Siakam's very good at a post-ups, and there's not really a great defensive matchup for the Celtics to throw at him. So, obviously I think the Celtics have just a little bit too much for the Pacers, but, in trying to go through various scenarios, how I can see the Pacers possibly winning this, that's one of them. But the Celtics, obviously a deep team, a lot of firepower up top. They're just going to have to stop themselves from reverting to their late-game style of offense, which is very isolation-driven, because I think they will start to get some issues against the likes of Nesmith, who's a very talented defender. I think Siakam can do a job on somebody like Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum as well to a certain degree. The Pacers have what it takes, I think, to win this series, but I think the Celtics will ultimately, again, do it in 5 or 6. What do you guys think? What are the series predictions for the Celtics? If I had to choose, how I feel about it, Boston's always going to give you a game. Said it in the first series. They did. They played like shit in Game 2, although Miami had a historically good shooting night. Second series, they gave the Cavs. Game 2, they gave it to them. They're going to give one of the games to the Pacers in this series, and I think the Pacers are good enough to win one themselves. So I'm actually going to say Pacers lose this one in 6. Celtics win in 6. But I think that there could be a way in which the Pacers scare the Celtics a little bit. I mean, the Celtics, as good as they are, I know Porzingis missing, that is a huge miss. But, I mean, if they can't get to the Pacers, there's seriously got to be some questions about this team if getting to the Pacers is an issue for them. This should be one in which they win. We'll talk about Bruce Brown a little bit later on. Well, I'll save some of these questions, hopefully, for that segment there. When everyone says Pacers are tough. They are tough. They're going to make the Celtics earn this series win, I think for sure. I think this Pacers have a bigger chance than people are assuming they have. I agree. I think they have a little bit too much. I think they're being a little bit overlooked, rather. I kind of agree there. I think the Pacers have something interesting brewing here. And honestly, like it's really tough to fluke a conference finals appearance. Like these don't just happen, right? You don't just end up in the conference finals. So full credit to the Pacers for fighting through and getting to this point so quickly in this sort of rebuilding phase. A big reason why is Tyrese Haliburton, and another big reason why is Pascal Siakam, just casually doing his thing, as Raptors fans have known him to do. Let's go to the other series, and again, would love any of your predictions for this series as well. We have the Dallas Mavericks, perhaps a touch surprisingly. And you think about the Dallas Mavericks at trade deadline, who could have foreseen this team getting back to the conference finals? Wow. Timberwolves, in a little bit surprising fashion, are here. They were not favored over the Denver Nuggets, and certainly down by, I think it was 20 points, the Denver Nuggets in Game 7. We would not have thought they were going to be here, but what an outstanding second half of Game 7, and just the defense is elite on this team. Everybody is so good. Jaden McDaniels just made all defense. Rudy Gobert did as well. He's the Defensive Player of the Year. Karl Anthony Towns, man, I did not think Karl Anthony Towns had this level that he could bring to a playoff series. He's always been, and rightfully so, regarded as a player, bit of a loose cannon. You don't know what you're going to get. But man, was he stellar on defense against Nikola Jokic in that series. And his stellar defense on Jokic. Look, Jokic is going to do his thing. You know that. But he was good enough defensively that it allowed Rudy Gobert to play this sort of roaming role on defense, the free safety role, if you will, on defense, which was so difficult for the Denver Nuggets to play against. I mean, especially in Game 7, Aaron Gordon couldn't do anything. There's just no space. Like the bigs on the Timberwolves were swarming. As I said, you've got McDaniels. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has turned into an excellent perimeter defender. How about Anthony Edwards has turned into an unbelievably talented superstar, two-way player as well. What he brought defensively against Jamal Murray was significant to that series as well. And offensively, we know everything about Ant. This guy is a bona fide superstar in the NBA. I think that the Timberwolves throw a little bit too much defensively at the Dallas Mavericks. And I think size-wise, like the Dallas Mavericks are a small team. Lively's going to have to be significant. I seriously worry about the Mavericks in the Gafford minutes. I just don't think they have a lot of firepower. Derek Jones had a great series against the Thunder, but I don't know if you can continue to rely on Derek Jones' big games. PJ continues to play well, then we'll see. That's going to be another X factor for this series. But I think the Timberwolves have too much here. I'm going to take the Timberwolves to win in 6 games in this one. Kind of strange I'm taking both of the higher seeds to close it out on the road in Game 6, but I think Timberwolves in 6 here. But I could see it going to 7. But I do think the Timberwolves are going to win this series. And man, if we can get this Timberwolves defense against the Boston Celtics in the finals, that is going to be a hugely entertaining series. I am excited to see where this goes. But not going to count out the Mavericks. Not going to count out the Pacers, as I said. What do you guys think for this series? Pacers have gotten this far, and no one has been great for the Pacers so far. It's a good point. I mean, I guess something that kind of enlightened me. I feel about this more in the Dallas perspective, where it's like, man, like Dallas are here. Luka and Kyrie aren't even playing that well. Like, I think the Timberwolves are going to crush them. Like, you're not even getting Luka and Kyrie at their best so far in the playoffs. But then it's like, yeah, they're here in the conference finals, and Luka and Kyrie aren't at their best because the role players have been so good. The role players are the reason you're here. What happens when Luka and Kyrie switch it on at some point if they do? Holy shit, this is a really good team. And I think the same can be said for the Pacers here, where, yeah, Siakam's been good. He hasn't been dominant. Halliburton's been on and off. Miles Turner's been very good. But, yeah, it's just been like, hey, if the star players really kick on, holy, can the Pacers or Mavericks cause some damage 100%. I did see the LaMelo Ball news. That was unfortunate to see. I'll pull it up here if anybody has not seen it. But, yeah, look at this. I mean, you can read it yourself. But apparently LaMelo Ball ran over a fan's foot. And a lawsuit has been filed. And I saw this video as well showcasing LaMelo Ball's driving habits, where he's not a very safe driver, ripping it out of the parking lot. Running through a red light. Once again, ripping it out of the parking lot, flooring it through a very clearly red light. Yep. Once again, ripping out. How many cars does this guy have, by the way? GTA style. Rips it out in the wrong lane. Not a very safe driver. And unfortunately, there could have been somebody who was ran over. Their foot was run over. So hopefully it's addressed, because that's fucked up. That's fucked up big time. Yeah, I don't know if there's a video of him driving over the person's foot, but, I mean, security cameras. I don't know. I'm no lawyer, but hopefully this situation is resolved and the victim can get some sort of taken care of in some capacity. It's something that could have been a lot more serious. Think about driving over someone's foot. Like, imagine a couple more inches up, and then it's the ankle, it's the leg instead. Horrific scenes. Something could have gone down there. How was dinner? It was good. The classic. Good. Mild Italian sausage on a bun with some caramelized onions. Very tasty. Can never go wrong with that. And some broccoli on the side. Lovely stuff for dinner today. It was a high-quality dinner. Nice and easy. I know somebody at the Toronto got a lot of money in the settlement. Yeah, hopefully that's the case here if LaMelo is found to have actually done it. Because that is, that is just ridiculous stuff. I understand these guys are at a level of fame that's like they're at a level of fame I just cannot comprehend. And I imagine they cannot go in public, and it's tough to just get anywhere at any time of day without people storming them and stuff. But you got to have some sort of, I'm not going to go as far as to say appreciation, but you got to understand who you are. You got to understand why people are so obsessed with you. Maybe not obsessed, but wanting to see you, wanting to get an autograph, especially kids that look up to you. So there has to be a much better understanding of this, in my opinion. And I guess there wasn't in this scenario for LaMelo Ball, right? Always one of Hornets are just the most unserious franchise. Look at PJ Washington. Look how good he is. Could he have ever done that for the Hornets? No way. Like, seriously, PJ Washington was the catalyst in the team getting to the conference finals. That's incredible stuff. Think about where he was at the trade deadline. Like, imagine the Thunder at PJ Washington. My goodness, they'd be the team in the conference finals, and they'd be a much bigger threat to win the championship. But seems like anybody who leaves, except for Gordon Hayward, anybody who leaves the Hornets just ends up doing a little bit better somewhere else. All right, everyone's talking about Bruce Brown. Let's move ahead here. I had an order. I just schedule here, but we're going to go out of order from my schedule here. And we're going to go right to Bruce Brown because previously I've spoken about Bruce Brown and how there could be difficulties in trading him in the offseason, and that could still be the case. But some of the latest reports suggest otherwise, and that Bruce Brown could be traded a lot sooner than we might think. And when I say a lot sooner than we might think, I also say a lot sooner than I might think. I very much thought that it would be difficult for the Raptors to make any move with Bruce Brown in the offseason. It would just be difficult to do. I didn't rule it out. I didn't say it'd be impossible, but it seems like bringing Bruce Brown back and then looking towards a trade, maybe closer towards the trade deadline, is the more likely avenue for the Raptors to pursue with the forward, who wasn't at his best when he arrived with the team. But I will maintain, and I see some stuff in the chat here saying Bruce Brown isn't good. Like, what are you actually going to be able to get for Bruce Brown? But Bruce Brown, at least according to himself, was dealing with an injury. And even if he wasn't, and he wasn't playing that well for the Raptors, as well as maybe we would have wanted and would have expected, everyone knows who Bruce Brown is. Everyone knows how good he is, especially after his role in the Denver Nuggets winning the NBA championship in 2023. And perhaps having a player like that coming off the bench would have allowed them to progress even further in 2024. But ultimately, they were priced out by a very lucrative offer by the Indiana Pacers. It's about $21 million with, I think it was 22 actually, with a $23 million team option for next season. And that team option, I thought, like, there's just no way the Indiana Pacers are going to pick this up. There's just no way after 1 year. Like, I love Bruce Brown. I like him as a player. But there's no way a team is going to pay him $23 million. Well, all of a sudden, the Raptors could be that team that has to pick up the $23 million contract because 23 is a good number to trade. It's not a crippling number as far as trades are concerned. So picking that up for the Raptors gives them the option to move him. And according to the Toronto Star, the Raptors are preparing to trade Bruce Brown this offseason. The Knicks and Lakers could be teams that look to pick the player up, but there is going to be plenty of contenders willing to offer a first-round pick to make this trade happen. And again, this comes from the Toronto Star. And it's interesting looking at this article here because I've always maintained people know who Bruce Brown is. There are going to be offers for Bruce Brown. But so many Raptors fans became almost afraid and frightened and almost enraged by the trade that went down to bring Bruce Brown to the team. By the way, the trade wasn't for Bruce Brown to come to Toronto. The trade was sending Siakam to the Pacers for picks, and we needed to match salary somehow. Well, in comes Bruce Brown, who makes probably a little bit more money than he should be making. That balance of the salaries to make the Siakam trade possible, bringing Bruce Brown to the Raptors. So it's not like the Raptors were like in a crippling spot by having Bruce Brown on their team, but there were people who were enraged, thinking, we've absolutely tanked Bruce Brown's trade value. We're never going to be able to trade him. We'll be lucky to get a second-round pick. And I thought, no, contenders know who he is, and they're going to be willing to offer a first-round pick. And the Raptors, what delayed this trade and why it didn't happen at the deadline, and, they can still trade him now, so it's fine, but they didn't trade him at the deadline. They wanted a 2025 pick, not a 2024 pick. All that people were willing to offer were 2024 picks. Well, now it's impossible to offer up a 2024 pick because we're going to wait until after the draft is done in order to make this trade. And the Raptors are eyeing a pick for the 2024 draft. And once again, according to Doug Smith, who is well connected with the Raptors, expect plenty of contenders willing to offer their first-round pick for Brown. And the 2025 draft, as we know, is likely to be a lot stronger than the 2024 class. So the Raptors understood they had time on the side, understood they had the possibility of flexibility with his contract, and now will have the opportunity to move Bruce Brown and pick up a first-round pick. So this is an interesting one because I certainly would not have expected a trade to go down this summer. And I'd say I'm going to go back on my point and say at this point I would have the expectation that Bruce Brown now is going to get traded this summer if they're pursuing it. But a lot of the initial reports suggested that the Raptors are going to be pursuing a Bruce Brown trade in the offseason. They are going to be pursuing a trade. But obviously, they're going to be pursuing a trade. They're going to try and make one happen, but there's not going to be a significant rush to do so. And in the end, if the Raptors want to continue to kind of hold their cards close to their chest and play this one out as long as possible, this could be a trade that ends up getting delayed a little bit longer as well. But again, with the newfound reports, with the aggression towards making a trade, with the aggression towards, setting up your core for the season, knowing what's in place, having people want to be here, and having players that are here that you want to have here as well, I understand wanting to push for a trade to happen. And I think the Raptors have benefited from results in the playoffs. The Lakers getting the Nuggets in the first round was great because the Lakers weren't better than the Nuggets. They could have beaten maybe any other team, but they couldn't beat the Nuggets. So from the Lakers' perspective, they're thinking they underachieve. I think the Lakers could have gone further had they not run into the Nuggets, but in their eyes, they underachieved and now are looking to make a fix. Perhaps Bruce Brown, looking at him, could be part of that fix. Look at the New York Knicks running out of gas in the second round. Had they made the conference finals, are they as aggressive potentially in trying to make a deal here for Bruce Brown? Who knows? Maybe not. So once again, I think the Raptors have profited a little bit by some of the results in the playoffs as far as a Bruce Brown trade is concerned. So I can see the Raptors trying to move on from him in the offseason. And I think that also what is a big reason why they want to push for this trade now is to not be paying that $23 million to Bruce Brown, specifically because they want to focus their financial side of things. Well, they have to worry about Emmanuel quickly. They will eventually have to worry about Scotty Barnes. But they also want to worry about a certain Gary Trent Jr. He's coming off of an $18 million contract, $18.5 million contract, player option that was taken this season. He's an unrestricted free agent. Getting Bruce Brown off the books is going to give the Raptors an opportunity to free up the flexibility to bring back Gary Trent. So I think a lot of what these rumors sort of suggest, number one, the Raptors want to solidify their roster for this upcoming season, but a lot of it as well is going to be, hey, we have a priority to bring back Gary Trent Jr. It becomes a whole lot easier by getting rid of Bruce Brown, getting rid of that contract, and focusing on re-signing Gary Trent Jr., bringing him back to the team because he had a positive end of the season. And if Gary Trent kind of accepts I'll put it in as a sort of euphemism, say a more specific role, then I think that there could be a great relationship long-term between Gary Trent Jr. and the Toronto Raptors, especially with the player seemingly like he enjoys playing for the Raptors. He enjoys playing for Toronto. He just enjoys it here. He enjoys playing in the Eastern Conference. So with all that in mind, with all that being said, this is probably a smart move by the Raptors to try and move Bruce Brown right at the start of free agency, closer to the NBA draft, getting a pick for next season rather than this season, getting a 2025 first-round pick rather than a 2024 first-round pick. And with all these things considered, as far as Bruce Brown is concerned, it's easy to want it to happen, but perhaps it's a little bit easier said than done. It's still a big contract. It's still going to be maybe difficult for a team to try and match the salaries there, but maybe it's going to be easier now than it would be close to the deadline. Regardless, if a trade doesn't happen this summer, in this offseason, we know teams are willing to give a first for him. We know teams are interested. And again, the Raptors can maintain that flexibility and will still be able to trade him up towards that 2025 trade deadline. So, look, the hope for Raptors fans, I agree, is to trade him as soon as possible. If we got to wait, not the end of the world. Something good can still go down for this team. I think that the Knicks probably will be the one that they look at the most. I just think he fits so well for the New York Knicks. That just seems like a match made in heaven for Tom Thibodeau's team. If I'm the Knicks, I'd be pursuing something in that realm for sure. And the Raptors, from a Raptors side, I think I'd be pursuing that as well. There's a good relationship between those two teams after the OG Anunoby trade and the RJ Barrett and Quickie trade. That worked out so well for both teams up until, of course, OG's injury. I think there could be a desire to make something happen there. To the Magic would be an interesting one as well, actually. Tahaj, I like that. That's an interesting one to consider as well because, bring some veteran presence, bring some grit to the team, and maybe additional bit of ball handling as well. Gary Harris is gone. Could Bruce Brown kind of slide into that role? Like, not the same type of player, but slide into that position for the team. I think that's an interesting one. Yeah, I hadn't considered that, but an Orlando Magic move might be good. And I'm actually planning on doing a Bruce Brown trade idea video. And now, all of a sudden, Orlando Magic could feature in said video. Thank you, Sahaj, for sending that in. We got some other people joining in the stream here. 905 Yada, what is going on? Thomas Perry as well, 2 of my members. Thank you guys so much for joining. Go Pacers indeed. There's not going to be a watch along for today. Just going to be a stream up until 8 o'clock today. Just going to enjoy the game privately. Part of it is just... sometimes these games, maybe for like a later in the series, I can do something, but sometimes they can be a bit tough. They're just long. It's a long haul, and some of us just want to chill a little bit. So, unfortunately, no watch along today. But plenty of content, guys. I know I missed yesterday. I decided to just take a holiday. It was Victoria Day, but yeah, videos on this channel Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Streams on this channel at least on Tuesday, sometimes Thursday as well. Videos on the second channel Tuesday and Thursday. You ever miss a stream? We would do clips channels. We've actually been doing really well lately, so we're doing clips over there. Doing at least one short a week in collaboration with the Bet99 Sportsbook. That's been going well. And hey, in June, I'm going to be on the Bleacher Report app 3 different times for some more Raptors content. Also leading up to that NBA draft, which I will be watching along with you guys. I might do the top 10 of the draft on my Works channel as I did last year, and then come on over to this channel for the latter stages of the first round, which would obviously include the 19th overall selection at the moment, unless they trade or something. 19th overall selection by the Toronto Raptors. How do you guys feel about Devin Carter, by the way? I did a video on him on Friday. I was in Montreal on Friday. I was in Montreal all weekend. But I was in Montreal on Friday. I recorded the video and uploaded it, scheduled it on Thursday, so I had it up a day in advance. So it took a bit of time. It was a grind to get the video out. With taking away a day out of my week, but Devin Carter is a player that really excites me for the upcoming draft, and it was sad to see that not many, but not something I can say not many, but a lot of Raptors fans did not necessarily agree with me. Yeah, I kind of like when fans get excited about prospects, but only 45% like Devin Carter at 19. 55 don't. So, what are your guys' thoughts? I really like him. I don't know if it's the Zach Edey crowd that still thinks that that's the way to go for the Raptors. I think Zach Edey is going to be a topic of tomorrow's video, but yeah, what do you guys think about Devin Carter? I for one am very fond of what the player could bring to this team. Don't most fans watch YouTube highlights? Well, I guess 3 days. Honestly, for draft stuff, my extent of NCAA it doesn't go far beyond articles highlights, breakdowns, and such. It doesn't go far beyond that. You know, I'm I have 2 jobs. I'm watching all these Raptors games. Honest to goodness, you know, I'm not watching all this insane level of NCAA tape. I work with what I have for that. But I think there's probably a lot of people that don't even maybe take it to that extent. And look, people are busy. This is not something that's the be all end all for them. Like I really care about the draft and covering the draft, but a lot of people just don't really care that much and just, okay, who did the Raptors take? Let's see what he's like out the gate, which is maybe why Grady Dick got a bit of a rough reputation out the gate for the Raptors, because people didn't understand like what he was supposed to be, who he is. You know what I mean? They just see this guy playing poorly out the gate in the NBA for the Raptors and think, well, why the fuck did we draft this guy? They don't really know anything else about this player other than this, like other than what they see, which I guess fair enough. But yeah, in this case, I'm a real big fan of Devin Carter. Do you take Carter over Filipowski, Smith, or Missy? I would. I don't know. I at this point, I'd say probably, like, I really struggle to see myself liking somebody. I look, it's early. I haven't looked through a ton of players as of yet. I haven't gone through, you know, the entire area of the class for the Raptors, and you know, maybe there's somebody I like even more, but I struggle at this point to find somebody that I like more than I like Devin Carter out the gate. I mean, I'm generally a big fan of what he produced and what he could bring to the team. Filipowski, I'm just not sold on really any center taking any of these centers other than Khalil Ware. Khalil Ware is an interesting one to me, but the rest of them haven't wowed me too much. Like Filipowski doesn't super intrigue me, honestly, at all. It's a tough draft. You know, you can get proven wrong on a lot of these things, for sure. But I just nobody has sold me so far, like Devin Carter potentially has. Terrence Shannon is an interesting one to look at as well for the Raptors. I think that's a decent one. But I very much think it also, I very much am wanting the Raptors to settle the point guard situation at this draft, which is why I'm also very high on taking Devin Carter in that position. First name, last name says, I'm a Sixers fan. I really wanted to draft Kevin Knox. What was I smoking? Yeah, you know, I look back on the Scotty Barnes draft. I did not want the Raptors to draft Scotty Barnes. I look like a moron looking back at the tape of that watch along. It is what it is. I thought Keon Johnson was like a fantastic player to potentially draft. You get that one wrong. I got that one wrong too. I think he's like out of the league at this point. Yeah, you get some things right, but yeah, you get some things wrong as well. One of the guy who was highest when the Raptors drafted Koloko. Koloko was third highest on my list at the time of the selection. Jalen Williams went one pick after at 34. It actually would have been a good spot for Raptors, but he was ahead. Anyways, second on my list was oh God, what was his name? There was somebody. The second player on my list was, pulled up, Justin Lewis, who I was like, man, please draft Justin Lewis 33rd. Justin Lewis ended up going undrafted and is out of the league now. But I was hell-bent like, man, what an amazing player to potentially take here. And yeah, he was out of the league very quickly. It's just the draft is hard. It's hard to get the draft right. It's hard to predict it correctly, especially, you know, I dedicate my life to covering the NBA. I don't have this coverage of the NCAA, so sometimes you get things wrong, man. Khalil Ware is your least favorite of the bunch. Interesting. I actually quite like Khalil Ware. Interesting how that turns out. You know, the latest Bleacher Report mock draft. Shout out Bleacher Report. The latest Bleacher Report mock draft has the Raptors taking Zach Edey at 19th overall, which is one that I plan on discussing in a video probably tomorrow. Would the IQ Devin Carter backcourt be effective on defense next season? Devin Carter is a fantastic defender. So I think so. Devin Carter, I'm not drafting to start though. You'll probably have some minutes where they're playing together for sure. But I mean, will you actually? I mean, yeah, you probably will. Anyways, Devin Carter's a very good defender, plays above his size. So that's not what I'm super worried about. But you need to address the point guard spot. I think obviously, ideally, you want to get a big point guard, because you're playing that guy next to Manuel Quickly, so you want to have some size there. So you look at guys like Stephon Castle, Nikola Topic, but unfortunately, we're just not drafting in that area. So maybe with some size, you go perhaps Carlton Carrington at 19th. That doesn't scare me at all. Like I'd be okay with going Carlton Carrington in that position too. But Devin Carter looks really interesting to me. It is a shame Koloko had the health issues. I did like the potential there. And he was high on my list for a reason. I'm just not sold on Carter. Will Edey go down to 19? I very much think so. I'm not sold on the hype around Zach Edey's draft position being like just outside the lottery. I'm personally just not there yet. Honestly, there's been the videos and the information coming out of Combine where Zach Edey is shooting the 3-ball really well. And since that's come out, Zach Edey's draft stock via mock drafts has actually fallen a little bit, if anything. So I'm just not sold on Zach Edey's fit for the Raptors at 19 and talent for the Raptors at 19. But evidently, Raptors fans are sold on it. 70% said they'd be happy to take Zach Edey at 19th overall, whereas unfortunately, only 45 agreed with me on Devin Carter. But yeah, Zach Edey's getting a lot of steam, and I actually did a little bit of a early draft preview on the Bleach Report app last Tuesday, covering who the Raptors could take. I covered Devin Carter in great extent, but the discourse in the chat throughout that entire stream on Bleacher Report was pretty much the entire stream about Zach Edey. Like, people just really like Zach Edey, and I guess it's just a household name for the casual fan. I don't know. I just don't see it personally. Thomas Ray says, I'm like down for a facilitator that can defend. Does he have a jumper yet? Well, so you described the facilitator who can defend. He's a defender who can shoot the shit out of the ball, seemingly, but maybe isn't that great of a facilitator, actually. It's not quite the player you described there. He's a fantastic defender who had a big, significant jump in three-point percentage this season on high volume, but maybe needs to work on his facilitation and playmaking a little bit, interestingly. Look, at 19, you're not going to get the perfect prospect, but it's decent, and I think the Raptors have a lot of guys who can handle the ball that can make up for it, so that's what I'm looking at there. And it's a decent fit next to Quick. I think Devin Carter's more of a 1.5 rather than a 1, and I think the same goes for Emmanuel Quickly, but I think that's okay, and I think you can learn the position a little bit as Emmanuel Quickly is doing with the Raptors. I think you can learn that a little bit once you come into the league. He is older, yes, but I think he's NBA ready and ready to be a contributor off the bench at the gate, which is what I'm interested in. I don't want to go too far and too much on Devin Carter here because if they select him, he doesn't look good. I look bad, and as I said, it's tough to. Not that I'm saying I'm worried about it. I just want to speak my mind, and I am a big fan of Devin Carter. So if it makes you look bad, so be it. But if I'm like hell bent on this guy and he's trash, then maybe that doesn't look good. But look, all I do is speak my mind. I like him a lot. Do you think the Raptors possibly pick up Isaiah Collier? I can really only see Isaiah Collier's draft stock going in one direction, and it's not up. He's projected to be a late lottery pick, but I didn't love what I saw with Isaiah Collier. The only reason you'd go for him is because you feel like there's upside there from a shooting perspective that I don't see. I'm not sure. I was kind of hoping a while ago that Dalton Connect would end up at 19 to the Raptors, but if anything, Dalton Connect's getting higher and higher and higher on draft boards, even though he's going to be 23 at the draft. Like Dalton Knecht could be a higher up lottery pick as well. So it isn't like he's going to be available in those spots. I feel like if the Raptors want Zach Edey, they will have an opportunity to take him. I just maybe it's just that weak of a class, and I'm not giving Zach Edey enough credit. But genuinely, I just don't really see the appeal of going for Zach Edey at 19 when you could go in a different direction and go with a point guard in that spot. 6 of Bruce Brown. Yeah, that's another interesting one. You know, they're getting off of the Tobias Harris contract, so that opens up a little bit. You know, you're not wrong. That is an interesting one to consider as well for Bruce Brown. And I don't know, would the Raptors go into business there? Potentially. That's an interesting one to look at. The ones I'd look at are Knicks, Lakers, Orlando all of a sudden is interesting, and the Sixers as well, a pretty decent one, which I would look into as well. That's probably a Friday video. So hey, I appreciate all the suggestions for Bruce Brown as far as a trade is concerned, because I'm going to be exploring some specific mock trades rather for that Friday video. Tomorrow I hope to go. I'm going to do a Zach Edey video. Man, it's likely going to be a video that the masses disagree with. I'm trying, and I really want Zach Edey to succeed, and I would love it if Zach Edey proves me wrong and is just amazing in the NBA. Support the Canadian boys, but yeah, I don't know. I gotta be honest, and I just don't see it. I don't know. I do like Carlton Carrington, another good point guard to look at 19th overall. Yeah. Collier though, Collier's a weird one. I don't love his game. I don't love his game. Plenty more draft content on the way though. Absolutely. We're plenty more draft coverage coming for you guys the rest of the way. But just over a month away from the draft. If we procured Chris Paul, I'd love to see that, just to see the impact he would have on the young core. Gets a lot of hate, but he's one of the smartest to play the game. Absolutely. I guess his contract is up, right? I mean, Chris Paul, let's be honest, he's going to be ring hunting at this point. His contract's up, right? If his contract's not up, the Warriors are fucking idiots. His contract's not up. Okay, well, I'm not paying Chris Paul $30 million, so he can chill on the Warriors. That's crazy. Oh, the Warriors gave up Jordan Poole and assets to take on Chris Paul. Amazing. Yeah, I'm actually extremely wrong about RJ Barrett. I'm wrong about a lot of things, you guys. RJ Barrett, one of them. I made a video talking about how stupid I was on RJ Barrett. Yeah, I get things wrong, of course. Some things I get right, though, don't I? Some things. What do you think of Donovan Mitchell to the Rockets? Wow, that would be... I don't know. It depends what you're giving up. I think it'd be a pretty bad move to give too much up for Donovan Mitchell right now, because you might be able to get him for free in a year's time. You know what I mean? Fan backlash of Edey is on the board at 19 and they pass. Oh, man. Whew, interesting. I do kind of hope he's gone by 19, so it takes the decision out of our hands. But again, I don't really see it. I think for anybody, by the way, who you're asking like if they might fall, I think anybody can fall, anybody can rise up. If you really like a guy in this draft, I think a team is going to be willing to reach a bit to take him. There's no consensus. A lot of people all over the place. So if you like a guy, I think teams are just going to go get him. You know what I mean? Recent mock drafts have actually moved Zachary Rizache into the top spot in mocks, which is a bit surprising. I thought it would be almost locking in Alex Sarr as the first pick, but it's kind of turned into Rizache as a favorite on mock drafts go number one. And I don't really see, I don't know. I think pairing Jalen Johnson with Alex Sarr would be the right move to go for the Atlanta Hawks. So I actually might take some draft prop action at this stage. Yeah, if Alex Sarr is not favored, I might take some draft props on him to go first. Let me see. Let me see if there's odds up for this anywhere. Because if Alex Sarr is not favored, Alex Sarr is favored, even though he's a pretty sizable favorite, even though the most recent batches of mock drafts have him number 2. By the way, what the hell? Like, with all due respect, what the hell is going on with this Donovan Clingan surge up draft boards? What the hell happened? Like, he's a guy that was supposed to be like outside of the lottery. All of a sudden, he's a top 3 pick. What the hell is going on here? Okay, Whitmore last year, physicals, drug tests, off crazy, anything can happen. Well, I think it got to the point where maybe teams like outside the top 10 just hadn't even done their due diligence on Cam Whitmore because they're like, he's not going to be available when we're drafting. So, like, let's not waste our time working with this guy. Then it comes like to a point where now they can take it. They're like, well, what the hell are we missing that other teams know about him? You're like, we don't. I don't know. I'd love to see if this is like what NBA teams think. Maybe they won't admit it, but I'm thinking like around, like even where the Raptors were picking. Look, Whitmore should have been higher. We didn't really do our homework on this guy, but we don't want to be that team that looks bad here and taking him, and because we missed something that other teams saw. So let's just get our guy Grady Dick and the guy we have more confidence in, and not take the wild card there. Do you think that's the way teams sometimes think when it comes to that? I feel like certainly that's a discussion where it's like, okay, maybe we just take care of ourselves, get our guy, and let somebody else make a potential mistake here. We like our guy. We're not going to beat ourselves up over missing this guy. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think the Cam Whitmore thing was just the medical tests were a little bit overblown. And what I've also seen is that Cam Whitmore is not outgoing. So he didn't do well in any of his interviews because he's just not outgoing at all. Yeah, there was quite a bit of backlash when Suggs wasn't picked. But overall, I think most people understand that. Look, we obviously try to learn as much as we can about the draft beforehand, but we're not going to learn nearly as much as what the Raptors front office knows about these players. So, in the end, Scotty Barnes was not my first choice, but right when I have him, all right, the front office, they got their guy. This is the guy they wanted. Let's see. Hey, we saw. He came, he saw, and he conquered. That's what he did. Shout out to him, man. And the city fell in love with him right away. Yeah, but Grady Dick was one that feasibly could have ended up at 13, whereas like Cam Whitmore really should not have been in that range. You know what I mean? Masai not afraid to go with his gut. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Masai will reach to make sure he gets his guy. Take the risk, take the gamble sometimes, and it pays off with guys like OG. It doesn't pay off as well sometimes with guys like Bruno Caboclo. Any thoughts on a potential Bruce Brown trade? Listen, unfortunately we're past that part of the stream. Talked about it a little bit earlier, and also if you want to go check that out, and also we're gonna clip it and put it on the Clips channel at some point in the near future. This always sounds disrespectful when I say, but just for the people that've been here the whole time, I don't want to like rehash everything. Basically, with the information that we have, Bruce Brown, hey, the Raptors are gonna make a bit more of an aggressive push this summer than I would have expected to make a trade. We'll kind of see what comes of it in the end. And there will be a Grady Dick mock trade video coming at you probably on Friday, guys. But the big thing cooking up right now is the Bruce Brown trade discussions. I like that we're talking about a lot of different prospects here because Bronny is really getting the bulk of conversations here. And I don't like this comment. So Bronny says it's tough being the son of LeBron James. A lot of criticism gets thrown away. You know what? Maybe this quote is taken a bit out of context. Fair enough. Now you find a clippable thing here. I've got to deal with it. Yeah, you've got to deal with it. I got to, there you go. A little bit of extra context there. But yeah, it's going to be tough because you're the son of arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. But surely he has to understand the positives that come with it, because Bronny James would absolutely, positively not get drafted in 2024 if his last name wasn't James. If he wasn't the son of LeBron. Fact, he would not get drafted. He'd be back in college, and there wouldn't even be a discussion about it. No team would even sniff him at the NBA draft, but he's the son of LeBron James. So I like that we had a nice, healthy discussion about a lot of players outside of Bronny, because Bronny is the guy that's getting the bulk of media coverage. And hey, I don't want to be. Maybe it's a bit hypocritical for me, because I've covered Bronny as well, and the reality is that's what people want to see. That is that is what people want to see content on. They want to know about Bronny James, and it just kind of is what it is there. Come to terms with your blessing, embrace it. Yeah, and I think he's done a decent job at that, but he's got to know. He wouldn't be getting drafted if it wasn't for Bron, for sure. Isaac, what's going on? We're in the Bron jersey. What great timing for that as well. All right. Wanted to finish off here discussing the projection for where the Raptors should be finishing next season. And when it comes to the Raptors fan base, especially in the YouTube space as far as the Raptors community is concerned, when it comes to the Raptors fan base, they love to be optimistic. They love to back their team. But even amidst a team now that has a young core in place, a promising core in place that we're very much hoping can expand and see large improvements next season, even with all this in place for the team, fans are still not as optimistic as I would have expected for the upcoming season. And let me show you why here. So as I often do on the Raptors or on the Amateur Sports Community tab, I ask for polls. I put up polls, and I ask for the general consensus from Raptors fans. And typically, when it comes to these polls, I can get a good sense of where the polls are going to end up. And a lot of the times, I just know that the polls are going to be heavily favoring the Raptors. They're going to be a little bit biased. Like I remember a couple seasons ago, I put up who's going to win the NBA championship, and I'll put or who's going to win the Eastern Conference, and I'll put Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, the Raptors, and then any other team in the East. And the Raptors would win because it's and the comments are I don't care what their chances are. I'm always going to vote for the Raptors. I'm always going to back the Raptors. People just want to be excited about the Raptors. And I think that's great. You want to be excited about sports. You want to be excited about your team. That is typically the case with these polls. So when I see results for polls I put up, I often look at it and go, yeah, this is a little bit biased, but I take it for what it is. People want to be happy about their team. But this most recent poll I did actually caught me a little bit off guard because it was a bit more pessimistic than I would have thought. Now, the answer that had the highest amount of votes is not surprising, but it's the rest of it that's a touch surprising. So I asked, where will the Raptors finish in the standings next season, the 24-25 season? And the majority of the answers, or at least the highest percentage, came from the lower play-in seed, 9 to 10 seed in the Eastern Conference, which got 37% of the votes. Now, typically what I would see here is the upper play-in seed, the higher chance, or the higher seed would have more votes than the lower spot. But only 17% of people voted that the Raptors would finish 7th or 8th, and 23% said 11 or 12, and 14% said bottom 3 in the East, so 13 to 15 seed. So this season has really soured the community to a point where there's maybe more pessimism, is that a word? Than there has been in previous years. So it's kind of a shame that we're at this point now as a fan base where there's that lack of belief almost now. And one of my members, Thomas Perry in chat, says it's a bit off with the usual results. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting this. I was expecting, honestly, some of the comments to be like why is there such a big gap here? They could finish anywhere in the top 6. Why do you leave 6 whole spots there, but only 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 3 here? Well, because unlike if the Raptors finished top 6. But in the end, not a lot of people voted top 6, only 9%. and more people voted they'd miss the play-in before saying they'd be an upper play-in seed as a 7 or 8 seed. So the reality is maybe there's a growing understanding of what this team is. Maybe there's a growing sense of maybe there's a growing pessimistic sense with this team. I think that, honestly, the results are not even, maybe even I'm more pessimistic to these results. I think that the likeliest spot where the Raptors finish next season is 11 to 12. I think the second likeliest spot is 9 to 10. It's just going to be a tough season, you know? Orlando have built up. They're a good team. The Pacers are a good team. Celtics aren't going anywhere. The Bucks will be back. The Sixers will be back. The Knicks are here. It's tough. You know, you see a lot of teams continuing to improve in the Eastern Conference, and you don't really see where the drop-off is going to come. Miami are going to continue to push and continue to try and be a threat. Like there's just a lot of really good talented teams out there, and for the Raptors, you know, it's good to feel a bit optimistic about the core, and I really do like the core, but to think everything is just going to be pieced together and fall into place this season, it's going to be tough to execute. So to have the optimism levels start to trend towards my sentiment, and I would say my typical optimism level with the Raptors is about, in the grand scheme on the optimism spectrum, I probably sit at around a 6.5, where I want to feel a little bit more excited about the team, but I try to be realistic and try to keep my expectations in check. I feel like the more common fans I see are in like the 8 range on that spectrum. They really want to be excited about the team. But yeah, I could agree with what 905 Yada is saying there. A losing season, losing all year, and losing our pick, it really broke some people, and it soured a lot of people. You know, near the end of the season, I asked in one of these polls, you know, how much are you watching the Raptors now? And way more than I expected in the results said I've just completely stopped watching the Raptors. Like, not even just watching the game here and there. A lot of people just completely stopped watching the team. And yeah, I understand how it can all fizzle out in such a way. So, you know, what are the Raptors going to have to do to make a play-in seed? They're going to need to address a couple of key concerns with the roster. Backup point guard, namely. If they can, it'd be really beneficial to get a big wing defender. Bring in another big to add to the depth. I'm not saying replace Pirtle, but bring in another big for the depth so that when Pirtle's out, you still have size and rim protection. You're not stuck with only Kelly Olynyk. I like Kelly Olynyk, but it can't just be him. You need to add in a bit more size to the team and rim protection to the team. On top of that, look, maybe a little bit of extra shooting to the team. Just give Scotty Barnes the tools to succeed. Continue to see where RJ Barrett's development takes him. Continue to see where Emmanuel Quickly's evolution as a point guard takes him. Continue to see where Grady Dick's development takes himself. And, you know, it's a lot of solid players overall in the team. It's just, how far can this team go? I think that if the Raptors are trying to be honest with themselves, the expectation should be for them to fall in a play-in spot. And if the Raptors make the play-in tournament, even if they don't make the playoffs from that point, I think that should be regarded as a success on the season. But the Raptors, in my estimation, will have an 8 to 15 pick in next year's draft. That's just probably where it's going to end up. You know, we all want it to turn around right away. We all want it to happen quickly, but that just may not be the reality. And based on the results of this poll, the sentiment right now is probably agreeing with me on this. Now, look, we're just coming off of a bad season. We're just coming off of losing our pick, which is, you know, just got the mood down in the fan base. So once we bring in new players in the draft, once we sign guys in free agency, if a trade happens, look, all of a sudden I could be asking this poll down the line. Maybe we revisit this poll a couple months later, and all of a sudden the fans are back on board with the Raptors, and all of a sudden the fans are thinking, look, this team's good enough to just make the playoffs without worrying about the play-in tournament being a top 6 seed. So maybe we'll revisit it at this time. But the mood right now, at least since I started creating content around the Raptors over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, the mood right now about this team is the worst I have ever seen it. So hopefully, if it's not the results doing this year, just hopefully the performances start to make this fan base believe again. Because I always kind of didn't like when the poll results were super biased. But now it's kind of sad. It's like, man, even the polls, which are more biased towards the Raptors, aren't showcasing a lot of belief in the team. And again, that just feels a little bit sad. I liked having the fan base to be excited. So the fact that it's not, I don't know what I want. You know what I mean? It is worse than expected. But we'll see. All right, guys, get your last questions in. It's just past 8 o'clock. Game is going to get started. Well, schedule start at 8, so it should get started sometime in the next hour or so. Get your last questions in here, and yeah, we'll see how that one goes. I just hope the Pacers can keep it competitive. But they've surprised us to get here. They could continue to surprise us now. Do you think there's any validity to root for a full throttle tank? It's always tough to root for a tank. You can reap the benefits of it. Like Dallas, full throttle tank last season near the end of the season. It got him Derek Lively, who's a big reason why they're in the conference finals now. The Raptors, full throttle tank in Tampa, got Scotty Barnes. Typically, you tank, you have a good chance to get rewarded. Just didn't happen for us this year, you know? Don't mind keeping our pick next year. Unprotected at all. A little disappointing miss on top 10 pick for sure, but gives us options. Absolutely. Does give us options moving forward. Masai, it's his fault we're here, but he started to dig us out a little bit. Hopefully we can keep going in that direction. I do like, Worth It Guy says, do you like Carlton Carrington or Jared McCain? A little bit McCain. I do like Carrington. Carrington's a really good option that I'm going to cover in a full video on this channel as well. I think that he would be a really nice selection for the Raptors at 19. Doesn't go ahead of Devin Carter for me, but I have good belief Carrington will be available at 19, and I think it'll be a good direction for the Raptors to go should they choose to do so, though there may be better players available in that spot. Isaac says, my question is, should I get a Jordan Nwora jersey now or after he wins Finals MVP next year? Well, you don't want it to get sold out when he wins Finals MVP. So I think you ought to take care of that now and then not have to worry about anything selling out. So, yeah, go ahead with the Jordan Nwora jersey now because obviously he's going to re-sign, stay with the team, and obviously he's going to make that significant jump next season for our franchise, guys. All right, upcoming schedule, as I said, the expectation that I put upon myself is videos on this channel Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Missed yesterday because it was a holiday. Cut me a little bit of slack. Streams I try to do at least on Tuesday, but I'm going to try to do Tuesdays and Thursdays in the off season for streams in this channel. I do videos in the second channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My editor Adam cuts clips for the clips channel, the reactions channel, periodically, multiple times a week. So if you ever missed out on a stream, you can take a look at the stuff over there. And yeah, so much content coming at you in the amateur sports universe. I'm going to try to do some shorts here and there. I'm doing one a week right now with Bet99. Going to try to add some others. And in June, I'm scheduled to make 3 appearances on the Bleacher Report app, talking Raptors, talking trades, talking draft. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. It's going to be a nice summer of content in the Amateur Production Network, as it always is. I really go hard in the off season when it comes to content. So I'm excited to bring it for you guys, and I hope you're excited to see how it all unfolds with me. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in. Appreciate it. Coming through for the off-season stream. Merch. It's a small snag with the apartment hunting, but I am going to make the goal to start next season. The Raptors is next season. Hopefully I have merch coming out to coincide with the beginning of the new Raptors season. So for merch, stay tuned. Probably nothing will be available until October, but that's my goal. Already have ideas. I have the vision. I need somebody who can execute the vision for me. So I have the vision what it needs to look like. I just need to work on getting that stuff, getting it made, and how I'm going to sell it. So you leave that all to me. Just merch. My goal is to get it out late October to coincide with the start of the NBA season. So thank you, everybody, again for tuning in. Let's go Pacers, huh? Let's hope for a good game there, and I'll see you guys